It's out of love for them that you're doing it. As corny as that sounds. The whole, I'm grounding you because I love you.
I'm doing it because
I'm
I
doing
love
it
you.
because
I'm about to beat you down because I love you.
We don't know whose birthday this is. I'm assuming this is about 2 years ago. And we don't even know the setting of this. This is a recording that we have not listened to previously. Oh, wow. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
I can add some more.
Okay. Dads, you have to keep an eye on your baby girls. I thought the girl was going to be the easiest. Maybe you're like me. I thought the girl was going to be the easiest. This is Avatar. Cohen is from what nation? Water? Air.
Yeah.
Air Nation. Keegan, Earth Nation. Christopher, Water Nation. Kirkland, Fire Nation. Okay.
That's coming into home. Attitude.
The attitude, yeah, but not the. It's funny because
You gonna carry me until I tell you I'm ready to walk.
And what's interesting is that our baby boy, Christopher, he also likes to be carried and picked up, but for very different reasons. If Kirky asks you to pick her up, it's because she needs you to do something
I need
for
you
her.
to get me somewhere that I cannot.
Period. If she can't get it, she's already reasoned it in her head. I can't get this without this person. No. No. Oof. She's been feisty for a while. She is feisty. Feisty, spicy. Is she trying to grab something?
I don't know. All I heard was me saying, "Quit that bucking."
You think it was the bucking?
Nah, she might have been trying to do
I don't
something.
really remember her kicking back like that.
If I said quit that bucking, then she was bucking.
No is a very important word in our house. And I think it should, at this age, be an important word for children.
But if the only thing they hear is no, then they won't be free in themselves, and all they know and all you'll
Well,
be
that's the
is authoritarian, and the child needs to grow and flourish, and flowers need to grow out of its ears, and then you need to tell them, then instead of saying no, you need to say what they can do. You can get this SWAT.
And so I think no in and of itself is not a bad word. I think it's an important word. If God uses it as much as he does, we should use it
He
too.
should have just wrote the Bible in a way where he just said what we can do.
Yeah,
Instead of telling us what we cannot do.
Yeah, and I think the fundamental way that we first understand God is as a parent. He is literally called Father. We have to understand him first as a parent, or we can't understand any of the principles that he wants to share with us, be it in our parenting, in our business, etc. The highest order is, I am first your Father. That is just very, very interesting. That is the way Jesus communicated how we should understand God. He could have only used the word God, but he didn't. He gave God a personal relation. I don't think you can really build I don't think you can build a compassionate parenting foundation without no. I don't think it's possible. If it were possible, I think God would have done it for us. But he's clearly told us that foolishness is bound in children. There are aspects of children that is in them that we as parents have to help restrain or get rid of, replace it with wisdom. That's really what we're doing much of the time.
She's in the crushing and the pressing and then the waiting.
That's right. And it's interesting because that crushing and pressing is dependent upon the maturity of the child. She just became very mature very quickly. Very mature. And then on top of that, she has a strong willpower. independent and willpower. Those are like her first two. Those are the first two words that come to mind when I think about her. Independent and willpower. What do you think?
I agree.
You agree, right? There was something I wanted to say. Oh, and for parents who don't know, yes, there's going to be a lot of crying. There's going to be a lot of crying. You know,
I think a lot of times younger parents, or maybe just new parents of just one, it seems like their goal is to make sure they're not crying. What do I do to make it stop? What do I do to make sure they don't? Sometimes they gonna be crying and I'm gonna know it going in and I'm taking it and I fully expect you to start crying. And that's just something we have to accept and deal with. The goal isn't to, you know, make sure they're not crying. Oh, let me just give it to them. Just take them. Just go over there. Just do this. Just if you just satisfying that crying because it's irritating to you, then you're not gonna teach them anything.
Well, then they're training you
to like this siren. I'll shut it off in public even. Like,
yes.
You like,
and they will make that decision. They will make a conscious decision. We're talking about
grown
before 2 years old.
Right?
Before 2 years old, they will start making those decisions. They'll start figuring out what makes you embarrassed, what makes you tick, what makes you angry.
What makes me get to what I want quickest.
Yes. Babies are incredibly...
They're hip to the game, baby. They figuring out how to live on this earth.
Yeah. But that isn't to say that they don't show their positive attributes. You know, at this age, it's like so much falls within the gray area. So much. Either they do something exceptionally morally good, like Kirkland, her brother's crying, she goes and gives him something, either something that's extremely rewarding as a parent to see, or they do something like extremely bad. They pick something up and hit the other one with the head, you know, on the head with something or something like that. Sometimes we think that that's what parenting is going to be, black and white, and it's not. It's making decisions, a values-based decisions, over and over and over, and those are the most tiring decisions you can make. Is I'm shaping someone's future in an absolute sense, and I have to make every decision count. As parenting, it's making a bunch of tiny value-based decisions with our children.
And also a lot of times the parenting or mom books that I read or have read in the past at least will press upon you that all kids can't do wrong. They don't know a lot, and you know, no decision is bad, and I don't agree with that. And so if you parent in a way that no baby or a baby can't make a wrong decision, or what is correction? What is parenting if they can't do any wrong? And then my second follow-up question would be, what age will you step in and say, okay, this is bad? When they blowing up a school, or, you know? Like,
and we don't even have to go that extreme. We can go
basic sin.
When they're hanging out in the wrong crowd, and you know as a parent, and you're like, but I tell him no. I tell him no. But now I can't trust that he'll stay in his room when I tell him to. He might sneak out the window, or she might sneak out the window, or we want to stay away from reaching those levels of consequence, because it brings nobody happiness. Nobody happiness. The Bible is clear on that. It requires so much time. That's one of the most important decisions. How are we going to spend time with our kids? How are we going to spend time with our children? Who do we want getting the most touches on values-based memories? Every family is going to have to make that kind of decision. Even when I'm not at home, I know that the main person getting the touches on the children are going to be on these values-based problems that children are going to experience is mom.
I took the book.
like she kicking.
We're in the tussling right now.
In the tussle,
Yeah.
in the bustle.
There will always be a tussle. Just parents, I'm telling young people, just know that there will always be a tussle, okay?
Gotta tussle.
And guess what? For your child, you have to win. You have to win the tussle. And when I say win, I don't mean the child has been beaten into submission.
Beat them to a pulp. Beat them down.
What I'm saying is this.
Just the will.
Like, you put your foot down and that foot needs to stay there. That's what I'm saying. Your foot needs to stay there. Of course, it shouldn't be on the child. It should be on a principle. Again, a values-based decision. But there's always going to be a tussle. You have to win. You have to win. Now, what you'll learn is sometimes you won, but the cost was too much. It was more than what you expected. Maybe your child was right about something, and maybe you learn that later, or you might even realize that in the discussion that they're right. But you have to make sure that you win the tussle. When you realize that you're in the wrong, you have to apologize. You always have to have some kind of reconciliation, so that you acknowledge that the child was right. The children need to know that they're right about some things.
And the tussle isn't in vain. The tussle isn't, is mama and daddy against me, and whatever they, even if I'm right, it don't matter. They just got to be, no, it's just a tussle when I'm mama and daddy and we're trying to correct you. Like, I think that's important, because a lot of times when people meet Kirky or they hear about Kirky and say, ooh, girl power, strong will, that's what we want in girls. And I agree, it's just that we have to remember that we're raising young ladies under God, and you don't want her all that willpower that we praise and all of that, she don't take no mess, to go against her God. Like,
and I'll say this. We've been married since 2014? 2015. We've been together since 2014. Longer than
I was
that.
gonna say
Longer than that. We go back to 2011, break 2013, the end of 2012. Yeah, 2013, because it was New Year's. Goodness me. I forgot what I was about to say. I want my daughter to have a strong will. She needs to. You read the book of Proverbs, you're going to find a very strong-willed woman. You can't do that without being a disciplined, strong-willed woman. The thing is discipline is important. The woman in Proverbs 31 is strong-willed. She is independent, and she is disciplined. Who is she disciplined to first? God. Why is that important? Because God tells her what he wants her to be doing in the marriage. He does not tell the wife, I want you to be the one getting up and leading this house. But if a woman who is strong-willed and independent has not disciplined herself to the Lord, then what's going to happen is she's going to take up she's going to wear the crown.
She's going to get up and discipline that house.
Oh, and baby, likewise men, there are many men who do not want to lead. And the answer is simple. It's very simple. Because there's pressure. End of story. You have to make the decisions, the important decisions. You are the king of the kingdom, and your kingdom is your family. Those are major decisions, because you're now setting the agenda for generations to come, potentially. Major. And that is a pressure that boys aren't taught. First of all, schools do not teach boys to be able to be poised enough to carry that kind of mantle. They're not taught it. Why? Because 75% of the educational industry is ran with a maternal spirit. So they don't get that.
You will not. Daddy loves you too much to let you do that. You need to calm down.
We're talking about that tussling. The child has to know that it's out of love for them that you're doing it. As corny as that sounds. The whole, I'm grounding you because I love you.
I'm doing it because I love
doing
you.
it because
I'm about to beat you down because I love you. And I'm not going to enjoy this. What they say?
yeah,
It's going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you.
You know what's funny?
They be gleeful.
I get to beat on that child.
Like, goodness me.
Now, listen.
That's dark humor.
But it really is true. A parent who loves their child, it is
really
true.
does hurt you.
It hurts you.
You be,
Son.
You're like, oh my
I
goodness.
have to go in here and I gotta put on a show.
And it's like, son, you're a child. And I know that if I let too many of these happen, that will become the new boundary, the new rule. It is much easier to free. It is much easier to free a child as they get older than it is to constrain them as they get older. You do not want to be trying to constrain your child. You do not want to be trying to do that. You want to be freeing them the older they get so that they feel that their peers have not outpaced them. It comes down to keeping your child coachable, and this is one way we have to do it.
That's what you need to do right now. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, you are very beautiful and Daddy loves you a lot. But you need to calm down, ma'am. Did you understand? Your brother's got this a lot worse than you did. Now you need to calm down. Thank you. You're doing a great job. You really are.
Now,
She ain't hollering no more.
notice how the tussle happens. Look, when the tussling begins, that's not the end of the tussle. When it inclines and everybody hears the outburst, you as the parent have to de-escalate the situation,
Or it's not over.
or it's not over. There has to be a
If they're screaming at the top of their lungs for a bag of chips and you give them the bag of chips, that is not the end of it. The end of it is they're screaming for the bag of chips and you say that's not the correct behavior. You need to change. No sir. Sit out or swat or whatever you do, and then they calm down and then you say, now this is how we ask for. Can you say, Mama, would you like a bag? And a bag of chips. Then you give them chips. You give them the chips before that, you might as well just start digging your own grave.
if you don't want adults making decisions at an emotional peak, you can't let children do it either. And when they've decided to tussle with you, they've made a decision. It's just extending, like the bag of chips. They've decided they want the chips, and you're in that way. You have to go with them until you get to the end point of their willpower in that decision, and they release that. Then you de-escalate, and you try to be as positive as you can when you're doing it, and authoritative. I love you. I want you to know I did this because I love you. It's just like a coach. Just like I was blessed to be raised in a family of coaches, just like a coach. People always want to know, how is it that these kids will...
These bad kids, they coach turned their lives around.
Entire life is in shambles, except when he's on the field, at practice.
You're awesome. Good job, pretty girl. No. No, ma'am. No. That's fine. Poop it out if you need to. But you will not have that attitude. It is not good for you.
It's interesting because I almost feel like each child has a set of vocab words that you need to remember to cycle through for them. Because not every child responds the same way to the same kind of language. Like with her, I want to reaffirm her strong will. I want to reaffirm her independence. And I want to use some of these power words like amazing, awesome with her. because I still want to keep her personality intact. You know, my daughter thinks she's awesome. She already knows she's the bomb. Like, she already does. And I want her to keep that. But I'm also trying to shape her. One day, Lord willing, she's going to be given to a gentleman. And I need her to be able to lead where God has told her to lead and to follow where God has told her to follow. How important do you think the shaping of attitude is?
Extremely important, because it drives your desire to be around your kid, your irritability around your kid in public, the way you see your kid, how much time you want to spend with your kid. Maybe you decide you pick up extra shifts because nobody want to be around little Ray Ray. He be crying all the time, you know, and it's because nobody has shaped his will. Nobody has shaped his, you know, behavior. And I know Jordan Peterson has mentioned some things, and I see in the comments, or people will respond and say, how about we just, you know, let them be kids and you know, essentially, what is normal? Okay, y'all, we know what normal is. Essentially, it's letting the kid behave in any way. Like he's mentioned to his daughter that he sat her out, and he said, you know, when you want to behave in a way that's socially acceptable, then you can rejoin us. And I feel like everybody went off the deep end on her, and I'm sitting here like, no, you know how you go to the grocery store, you know how you want your child to behave, but for some reason when somebody says it in that way, it seems restrictive, or just, oh, that is so
I mean, it's just like hearing the word sin. If you've ever,
sin?
how many people tell themselves, I sinned? They will use a whole bunch of other words.
I was just in my element at that time.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
They'll even get down to,
me.
I feel shame and I feel guilt. But sin is such a theologically heavy word that we know. We know, you know, it encompasses an offense to God.
And with Jordan Peterson, he's come out more on the side of Christianity, but he's saying a socially acceptable, train our children to be spiritually acceptable at a young age.
Yeah. So
that they can learn these things, and it's not a new thing that they learn when we decide they're ready.
Well, I wanted to say one reason why we as parents, I think, respond frustrated when somebody uses these kind of terms is because those terms are so loaded with more, quote, theology, you know, like discipline that child. Kids left to their own devices are absolutely horrible, even the good ones. The good ones simply end up becoming abused by the other kids, the other bad kids. And that's not good for them. Being a victim is not good for a child.
I think it's the fact that the term bad and good can be, like, we automatically assume we're talking about spirit, soul, essence of a child. Like, we're talking about behavior. The behavior is bad behavior, you know, unacceptable, immodest, outlandish, not socially acceptable.
Yeah, and sometimes your child just uses a bit more attitude, layers it on top of that behavior, and you realize, oh, this might be something that's attached to the heart of my child.
Right.
Now I have to address it.
Really, now you're in a situation.
That's exactly right. Because now you're looking at something that Satan is trying to get a hold of. And we cannot let that happen.
Thank you. You're doing very well. Oh, yeah, sure. Daddy will share the swatter with you. Whoa. When you calm down, Daddy will share the swatter with you. You want to share the swatter with Daddy? Yes, that's what we can do.
It's interesting because I'm thinking about this time, and I'm thinking about, I'm trying to hurry up and give her a win too. Like, in my head, I'm trying.
You're doing good. Let's keep it up.
Yeah, let's keep it up. You're doing good.
Don't return to the attitude that you really want to have.
Yeah, that's right.
know?
So now I'm like, oh, you want this too? Oh yeah, Daddy will, give this to you.
This is the time when you can do that bartering.
There's a bartering,
You don't start the fight
tussle,
with,
the de-escalation, the barter.
I'll give you the chips if you just stop. No, it's once I have control, now I can allow
That's
the
right.
situation to be give and take, because
That's
now
right.
we're calm and we're talking it through.
I'm just thinking back, and I'm like, and it's interesting because I'm like, oh, you want this? And the thing is if I feel like, you know, if I wait too long, we're gonna get right back in the tussle. So, man, it's a game.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah, and as a parent, goodness me, you know, one reason I think dads should go home. I'm a believer in dads coming home, and I know I'm a young man, and I'm not a rich man either. And somebody can say, oh, well, you don't understand because you're young and you're not rich. I get it. So then I'm not speaking to that group of men. But men who know they can come home, who have a desire to come home, come home. Why? Because you will be entering battles like these all the time with your children. Why is that important? Because it shapes them and it shapes you. There's a reason why in the Bible, in the New Testament, Paul makes it explicit that leaders who are leading the church have to lead the home first, because the home is where you learn to be a leader, really.
That's what we can do. But what we will not do is throw a fit. Especially not at your mother. Now calm down.
Oh,
So me.
so husbands, dads, when your child, I don't care which one, it can be your favorite one, it can be the prettiest one, it could be the smartest one, the most athletic, the one everybody like. Look, you're only, if your child gets an attitude with your wife, you have to address that. And the sooner you start doing that, the sooner you will learn how to handle those kind of situations. There's going to come situations where your children are going to act like your wife is their property. And if you love your wife, you know that when that happens, it's like the video.
What'd you say?
I said, can you shut up?
Can I shut up?
Oh my God. Did you say you want to shut up?
It's a joke. It's a joke.
That's it.
It's the video. It's natural. It's instinctive to us as men. I don't care if you're scrawny. I don't care if you're big. It does not matter. The video where the sons or the daughters are saying something crazy, cusses at their, they cuss out their
Come
mom
up
or
a
something,
little
and what does the
trend.
dad do? It's immediate, because it's like, who the only ownership in this house is mom and dad with each other. At the end of the day, that's the first ownership. Dad owns the mom owns the dad. And when children try to break into that, that needs to be addressed. And the sooner you address
Well, a lot of times the daddies are like, they allow it, like, oh, it's the baby, mama's got the milk, I
Yep.
can't do nothing. Nah, listen, hey boy, hey young lady, that's your mother, that's my
right.
wife.
That's right.
You don't sit up here and you don't behave, and then the mamas be like thinking it's cutesy, like,
Yep.
like
Yep.
no,
No. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, there's the extremes.
Mhm.
There are those dads who do that. Then the other dads want to start hitting on the child. You can't go to either extreme. You cannot go to either extreme. Your child has to know, however, this is not a game. I'm now entering into dangerous territory.
right.
That's really where that is. It's you haven't disrespected me. You've disrespected my first love. The children are not the first love. The wife is the first love. It becomes one of the 10 commandments. You got the whole Levitical code, but you got some 10 commandments, and one of them, probably top 5, is, respect mama. It has to be there. The sooner you address that, the less you'll have that happening. The more that happens, the more you may lose control, or the child loses control, or mama loses control.
That's how it go.
Right? You don't want mama to lose control because now you have a crisis.
now you gotta step in.
Now you have to step in.
You could have just.
You got to put out fires. You don't want that to happen.
Look at that. You did a great job, Kirky. Hey, boys. What we should celebrate? What should we tell Kirky? Thank you. What you
Celebrate your wins. You have to celebrate your wins. Anytime your child de-escalates and y'all land the ship, that's a celebration.
Wings.
Yeah.
Oh, you said
And if nobody's around, first of all, you celebrate the child, and then you have to bring everybody else in. You have to bring everybody else in. They have to. Your child should feel proud that they listened to you.
Right.
They should feel proud about that.
Not proud that they got their way.
Yeah, you don't want that. You want your child to. Children naturally love their parents, but it's in a very naive state. So that should grow with maturity. But it only can grow in maturity if you can keep the things that Satan wants to take hold of in the heart, if you can keep that out of the soil. And guess what? It's just like you're a farmer. You're a farmer of your child's heart. There are going to be constant weeds that you're going to have to be there to pluck out. Imagine if your dad and you were overseeing a farm and you have to go and you're gone until 8 o'clock every day, until 10 o'clock every day. Your child never sees you. And then the day that you have off, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to be with my family. I can't wait to be with my family.
Them weeds pop up.
Weeds are everywhere. You don't get to enjoy your time. And it's just much easier to pick up weeds incrementally as they grow.
It's like the YouTuber that we watched, Melody, who allowed the weed to grow taller than her, and then it pollinates the yard, where you could have just chopped it down.
Shout out to Melody Alyssa?
I think so.
Yeah, shout out to Melody. It's so interesting because you're learning as a parent, you're learning what God means when he says you have to fear him. To live the best life, you have to fear God, because it's not just intellectual anymore. I actually have experience, because while I'm listening to this, I'm just thinking how much at this age, my authority has to be so consistent. Parental authority has to be consistent. Like, we just can't jump into holly jolly good day. I have to let her ease out of her feelings and let her know that even once you've moved out of this setting of feelings and into a new atmosphere, Daddy is still here. You know, once that authority is set, then I feel like that's when you can really have like good times with your children. I hope you enjoyed this snippet into our parenting life. I hope it brings you value. And I hope it helps you in your Christian walk.